Hello, everyone. I really like the first question I saw here. Is it weird that I pronounce herb instead of herb? I'm assuming that you're either pronouncing the H or not. That's a British thing, actually. In Britain, it's herb. Here, it's herb. Very important information to get out of the way. Hello, everyone. It is great to be back on Team Elliot's platform teaching again. It's been a while. And today we're going to focus on dreaming and dream rituals. So first thing I'm going to do here is try to figure out how to share my screen. Don't see it. Elena, if you're here and you know how to do that, that would be awesome. But I think I might just be able to, maybe I can, here. I feel like I've done this before here, but nope. Give me 1 second, everybody. I don't know, Sheena. Sheena, do you know how I share my screen on here? Normally it's pretty obvious. Really? Oh, okay. They don't show up well. Well, that is unfortunate. But I'm going to try just for 1 more second here, if you all don't mind. And then I will just proceed without the PowerPoint and maybe send you all the PowerPoint a little bit later. Let me look 1 more second. You know, my partner actually did an event on Crowdcast where he did share his screen. So I know it's possible, but I'm going to just take the advice of Sheena here and just not do it. Sounds good to me. Okay, so today we are talking about, oh wait, toggle full screen? No, that was not it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about dreaming, just to start off. Now, I know you all do a lot of work in Carolyn's course with your dreams, but I guess I would like to know a little bit more about where you all settle on why you dream personally and what your relationship with dreaming is personally. So just to get some things out of the way here, why do we dream in general? Right? Like, why do we collectively as humans dream? What is its function? It's really interesting that, our Lord and God science in Western culture has only recently been able to figure out even the smallest minutia of what dreaming is about in the human experience, right? It wasn't until 1975 that lucid dreaming was considered to be anything other than a myth, right? We only recently figured out that people with amnesia still dream. So it's something that is a process for us as a species, figuring out how to work the process of dreaming into our idea of what it is to be human, at least in the West, right? In a lot of indigenous cultures, dreaming is considered to be a very different kind of phenomenon. It's oftentimes considered to be either a state that is simultaneous with material existence, right? And that carries the same kind of weight, or in some instances, like in Tibetan culture, or in a lot of Buddhist cosmologies and a lot of Eastern cosmologies, I think it's actually considered to be more dense. The dream state is considered to be more important. So it's like the work that we do in dream time is actually more important to who we are as spiritual, eternal beings than what we do on the material realm. right? Clinically, we can say all kinds of things about what dreaming is, right? It's, just random neurons firing amidst other random neurons to try to figure out what happens when we mash up this image with this image, or this sensory stimulus with this sensory stimulus, right? It can be chaotic, right? And that is an experience that we often have in dream time, right? It's chaos. It doesn't make any sense. There's a random mashups that are creative for sure, but we don't always find them to be useful. And even though there's some meaning we can get out of it, in the moment, it appears to be something that we don't need to place a lot of importance on, right? And that's oftentimes in Western culture why we don't think to wake up in the morning and take our dreams very seriously. Because it's just like, oh man, that was weird. Oh, thank God, I'm back in a place that makes sense. I'm just going to carry on with my day, right? Which brings me to the next question of, why do you dream personally? What kind of weight do you place on your dreams when you wake up in the morning? And this is actually something that I would love to hear some feedback on. So anybody who wants to pop in the box and tell me basically, why are you here? Why are you concerned with your dream life? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to become more creative? Are you trying to get guidance from your ancestors? Are you trying to find deeper levels of healing? Are you trying to do karmic work? Why are you interested in dreaming? Let's see here. So Samuel says, I'm working on some practices that should help me have a bit more agency over that part of my brain. So finding more control in lucid dreaming, right? This is called lucid. So clearly we're going to be talking about steps to take and how plants can help us gain lucidity. And yeah, actually, I know Carolyn normally says, go to the question and answer box, but let's just keep it all nice and neat on the side here to see patterns. I like that one, right? Because that's one thing that dreams do for us really well. And that's to help break up the regular pattern of our day-to-day existence, which is how we get creativity, right? Something has to break. There has to be a void. We have to create space in our life for things to change in order to be creative, in order to create, right? Which is, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of, very wise indigenous ancient people, that is the purpose of being human. I'm buffering. Oh, everybody. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm buffering, Marilyn. I think everybody else is seeing me all right. I guess I should have done a little check, but it seems like most people are with me here. Okay, I'm struggling with holding the dream once I awaken, and I'm looking for answers in connection to the unconscious and the HGA, right? Yeah, very good. Your holy guardian angel definitely has more access to you in the dream state than in the waking state most of the time, though we are going to be talking about really cultivating those liminal spaces between waking and dreaming, where actually your guides are able to kind of like walk this line with you, which is one thing that working with plant allies is going to do really well. So I'm seeing a lot of people have difficulty with dream recall, and that is a special place, that state between where our dreaming mind is doing one thing and our waking mind is doing another thing, and there is this gap here, right? And a lot of you have worked with mugwort, right? Correct? I know at least back in the day in Influence, Carolyn did a lot of work with mugwort. Give me a what's up if you've worked with mugwort here in the chat box. So mugwort is one of the classic lucid dreaming herbs. It's one of the classic witchy herbs for a number of reasons. One of the main reasons that mugwort is so popular is that it has this special ability to bridge gaps. So any place where there's a disconnect Mugwort's special skill is being able to create a connect. Okay, so that space between waking and dreaming, Mugwort can step in and find a way to get you from one side to the other in a really clean way, in a way that makes sense to your spirit, right? Because that's ultimately what's happening is your spirit is freed at nighttime a little bit. Your psyche is no longer as attached to your physical being. It's able to do some traveling. It's able to go to some other spaces. There's less weight. That's the wonder of nighttime. Like when the sun is not so bright, you're not in that me state. When the sun is out, that's what it creates. It's all of this light of your spirit that has you singularly focused. So it has you more focused on what's happening in the immediate. When nighttime comes, right, we're more concerned with the nous, like in the Greek, like the we, the overall, the realm of possibilities. And that's kind of what like the stars and even the astral bodies in general represent to us, like especially those of the nighttime sect. For those of you who are interested in astrology, Hellenistic astrology gives you a really interesting and sophisticated way of thinking about the dichotomy between the daytime and the nighttime, or the me and the we, or the realm of what is and the realm of what could be, right? And at nighttime, we go to the realm of the could be. Quantum physics also has some very interesting things to say about the realm of possibilities as well, right? So Mugwort helps you to go from what can seem like a very jarring state of being very me and what is focused to we and what could be focused. So that sharp jarring moment where it's like, oh, all of a sudden nothing was making sense and I was in this really chaotic realm, or I was having this really wonderful dream and now I have to pay bills, that can be smoothed out. And once you smooth that out, it's easier for that part of you that identifies the present moment, right? Which is why meditation is so important. So that present moment can become longer, right? It's going to help you to basically just have more ability to stay present, even in shifts. Does that make sense? I feel like I touched on a number of things that would have been a little bit smoother if I would have my slide up. Maybe I'll just carry my slide with me here. Okay. Yeah, mugwort in your shoes when you travel. That is a really nice one. Okay, so I'm just going to continue on here with what was going to be the slideshow. Okay. Yeah. So why you dream personally. Okay, great. So a lot of you have a lot of goals for your dreaming, and some of you are in different, that will lower the resolution and hopefully improve your video. Oh, use the gear button and click 360 Maryland. Wait, I'm just seeing this. Hold on. Gear button. I don't see a gear button. I am not super. Oh, wait. Oh, that was for somebody else. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Hard to remember. Yes, I'm seeing this. If you are stoned or drinking, we're going to get to that in a second here. But okay, so no matter what your goals are when you're dreaming, an important thing to remember is that your belief in the importance of that goal is going to make or break whether you achieve it or not. And that belief wavers, right? Like no matter what we're doing, right? There's always kind of currents or waves or different levels of intensity, with which we can believe things, right? And that is particularly hard to do in those liminal spaces, right? Like as you're going to bed, different things are important than, at 4 p.m. or while you're watching this video, right? Like, you're here right now. Clearly, dreaming is really important to you in this moment. When you go to bed at night, is that going to be just as important? When you wake up in the morning, is that going to be just as important? Because oftentimes, one of the hardest things in any of our spiritual practices is maintaining that belief that this is important and that this is possible. Right? So those are the two things. Is this important to you? And do you actually believe that this is possible? And now this is where ritual becomes extremely important. And this is where daily practice becomes extremely important. Because if no matter what, before you go to bed, you have this sequence that you follow with this particular intention. And if every time you wake up in the morning, you have this sequence, which you always follow with this particular intention, then that belief, that importance, that possibility is going to have a much more consistent stream. So how many of you, and this is probably all of us, but tell me where you are in your process. How good are you at your daily practices, at maintaining daily practices? How important are your daily practices to you? Do you have trouble placing importance on your daily practices? How much are you structuring your lives around your practices? And I know that it's funny, when I actually logged in to start this stream, the comment that I saw was, I'm having trouble keeping up with my daily practices. That's going to last as long as you're human, right? It's going to be hard as long as you have a human body, right? Let me see. Someone says, terrible. I hate that I fail, but I want to be better. Only Alchemical Journal every day. Every other one is if I remember, if I feel called to do it. All right, we've got a consistent one here. I have trouble placing it because it's hard to see immediate results. Yep, that happens. My practices take up a lot of my daily time. Good work. What's a daily practice? Yeah, recording dreams on voice memos. That's great. I've had to make, so everybody's going to be in a different place, and that's always awesome. So I know Carolyn goes through this a lot. One of the biggest blocks to actually making these changes, to staying consistent, is the amount of shame that we place on ourselves, right? Or not having enough, basically self-worth, self-esteem, sense of self-love, to think that we're worthy of taking care of ourselves in that way, to believing that it's something that is allotted to us in this lifetime, to have a space for these practices. Because so aside from like the worthiness, the value, believing that it's, maybe even you believe that it's like not your fate to be able to develop these kind of skills. Maybe you think that that you have to do all kinds of other things in order to have space in your life for prioritizing dreaming, for prioritizing the, like accumulation of good karmas, et cetera, et cetera. Like you have to have, your room clean. You have to have your chores done. You have to, check your email because there might be this really important opportunity awaiting, right? The other is being exactly that, like somebody mentioned, being result oriented, thinking that you're doing this so that something else can happen. Right? It's important that we make our practices the end in and of themselves, that the practice itself is the gift. So it's receiving the gift, right? Believing that you're worthy of receiving the gift, and knowing that that practice, that opportunity to sit, that opportunity to journal, that opportunity to, something we're going to talk about, drink that tea in a meditative way, is the gift. And it is the most important thing that you will do in your day. So if you prioritize the value of your eternal soul, right, which I'm assuming most of you do, if you prioritize your ability to be present with your divinity, then the most important thing that you will do in your day, logically speaking, is your practice, right? And if you believe, as I do, that the dream world, that the place where your spirit has access in the easiest, clearest way to infinite knowledge, to the source of creation itself, that if you have the ability to do hundreds of lifetimes worth of good deeds, then practices and rituals around dreaming are going to be the most important thing that you do in your day, if not in this lifetime. So you don't have to believe that, but it's something that I like to remind myself of. And when I can remind myself of that, then my practices are very easy. But your practices can also be very simple. So I'm going to be offering you a lot of information that is a little bit complicated, that you can go really far with, that you could dedicate hours and hours and hours to. But I also just want to put a little forerunner here that if all you do is spend a few extra moments laying in bed, thinking about, where the hell was I? Who was I? What was I just feeling? What color did I just see behind my eyelids? What was that quality of heat that was rushing up my spine? Why is my toe aching right now? If you just spend a little bit of time seeing what your face feels like, what do your hands look like? Basically, if you just really nourish and take your time in that liminal space when you wake up before you think of anything else, then that's the work. You're doing it. You're honoring that dream space. You're honoring that journey that your soul just made through the cosmos. And something will happen for you. And it will keep happening as long as you do that. And I hope that that makes sense to you. And it's literally that's all it takes. Everything else will come down the line. I promise you. If you just really nourish that. Often I think of songs when I first wake up. That's beautiful. New songs or songs that you've heard before? Because I woke up with some crazy songs in my head. Oh man, I could share some wild dreams. So a little bit of background about myself, right? Because I think a lot of you might not even, a lot of you do know me from Carolyn's past work. I've taught a couple of rounds of influence. I taught a round of force of nature, and I used to teach a course on herbalism called Earth with Annie Jarek. So I'm a little bit blessed. I've been a really good dreamer since I was a kid. I've been a really good dreamer because I had an extremely traumatic childhood and therefore had a pretty bad case of insomnia for as long as I could remember, which herbs have helped me to resolve. But so on average, I would remember about 7 dreams a night my whole life. It was a little bit overwhelming, but I have really great dream recall. So I was able to develop lucidity pretty early on, and I've been able to have a good number of lucid dreams, and I've been able to have some pretty intimate connections with dream characters, and have learned a good number of landscapes. So I've been able to develop a good journey work practice, which is essentially cultivating dream time while you're still awake. So it's essentially a hack for lucid dreaming journey work. And that's something that we're not going to quite get into today, but it is something that we did a good bit in Earth. Yeah, shout out to Earth, everyone. And something that if you're interested, you could contact me, that we could do more work on that. But in the meantime, we are going to move on to, sorry, I need to figure out how to make this transition a little more clean here. Okay. Why it's a good idea to work with, wait, let me see if there's no questions here. Never thought about that connection between those things before. That's fascinating. Dale, what if you're, okay, you know what? Because there are some side conversations here, I'm going to take it back and say that if you have a question directly for me, then go ahead and drop that in the question and answers. So if you're trying to reach me directly, please hit up the question and answers. Can we define lucid dreaming, please? Thank you for asking that question. I had that in the slideshow and didn't bring it up. So lucid dreaming. I've heard it popularly used two ways. The way that I typically think of lucid dreaming is when you have conscious control in your dreams. So it's, you know that you're dreaming, you know that you're in a different world, and you are aware that you can control your world. There's different levels of power and different levels of awareness that you can have in a lucid dream. You know, the baseline is, you know, classic. You're in a dream, bam, all of a sudden you look around, oh, I'm dreaming. And maybe you start flying. Or, oh, I'm dreaming. I'm gonna summon up an ice cream cone. Or, oh, I'm dreaming. I can escape this cobra that was about to bite me. Yeah. We no, nobody needs to apologize for being chatty. And then there's another definition, which is just that a lucid dream is like a really bright dream that you remember really well, that the images are really like crisp and clean and everything makes sense. I call those clear light dreams. And there's different, so I recognize kind of like different worlds or states of dreaming, and, you know, scientists and clinicians are as well now, right? There's different dreams, and we're going to talk more about herbs that can help you develop these different kinds of states, or help you slip into these different kinds of states more easily. But you can, so there's like the dreaming that you have when you're in really deep sleep, right? So there's the rapid eye movement sleep, and there's really deep sleep. And those dreams that happen in really deep sleep are harder for you to recall very often. I find, for myself, I think this is different for everybody, but I find that the dreams that I have in really deep sleep definitely take on a different timbre, a different quality. That doesn't necessarily that equates to being like the really chaotic dreams, which I think is, you know, a lot of times our really chaotic dreams are our minds, you know, preparing us for various possibilities the next day. And then there's the clear light dreams, which happen for me more closer to waking, right? Where there's more ability to become lucid, and there's more ability for guides to come and contact you. Because I think personally, they're more interested in contacting you in that state, because you're going to be more likely to remember it. So that's, for me, that's what a lucid dream is when you are conscious of the fact that you're dreaming, and that gap between the conscious and the unconscious is bridged, right? And again, that's what your mugwort is doing for you, is helping to build that bridge. Okay, all right. So now, why work with herbs? Why work with plants for dreaming? And what is it to work with a plant? So where I want to start with is basically what plants are doing for us when we work with them, and what it is to work with a plant. So something that we did in Earth, and so for those of you who were in Earth, you already know what a plant ally is. A plant ally is a spirit that is learning how to work with your particular field. It's a spirit. I mean, we can go a little bit deeper here and say that it's a spirit that is merging with your spirit. It's a much older spirit, a much wiser spirit, a much more connected spirit. So plants have been around for about 700 million years. Okay. And humans have been around at best 6 million. Most cultures consider plants to be our first teachers, right? For example, I forget exactly how long ago when plants developed the ability to flower, but I believe it was 250 million. So still a much longer time than humans have been around. And that flowering, that ability to flower as a means of reproduction, we won't get into it now, that is very special and is the blueprint for our reproductive system. It was also something that they learned from fungi who have been around a billion years. So amazing teachers, amazing old teachers who know how to do this whole living in the material world shit better than we do. Okay, so our very notion of creativity, right? Our notion of being able to bring something new into the world is something that we learned from plants. Okay, so our ability to heal is also very rooted in plants or mushrooms, fungi. I kind of I'm placing them in the same category, even though they are quite different. If you want to, you can think of mushrooms as being the teachers of the plants. So they're kind of like grandmothers or grandfathers. Okay. One thing a plant ally is not, I'll tell you, it is not a magic pill, right? It's not something that you're just going to be able to eat. You're not just going to be able to pop in and all of a sudden, have perfect access to the dream world. It isn't easy. If you want that, then I suggest DMT or acid. Super fun. It doesn't come without consequences, but they work, right? It's an option. So to have a plant ally, to really work with a plant spirit in that sense that you are becoming essentially the same being, that you're sharing the same morphic field, then it's building a relationship. It's like developing a friendship. Okay. So, and it's actually a little bit harder than developing a friendship with a human because you don't yet share the same language, right? So you're developing a relationship as you're learning a new language. Now, this language that plants speak, I believe that humans have an inborn capability to speak, but it's something that in the West we lost a while ago, unfortunately. Not entirely, and not everybody has, but we've become very dependent on symbols, and we've become very dependent on overstimulation. And we've really developed this kind of hungry ghost need to consume rather than commune with the rest of the world. And so that's a key word that I really want to rest on for a moment, that idea of communing. Now, this is something that even I have trouble with this in my relationship with plants. It's or anything, right? So I have this water here. Okay. I can, it's perfectly fine if I just pick up this water and drink it, right? I'm hydrating myself, right? I'm getting everything that I need to survive as a human from my water. I just pick it up, drink it. This action becomes potentized 20-fold when I pick this water up. I think, God damn, that's an intelligence. That is a being who can teach me everything that I need to know about life. And if I feel that, right? If I take just a moment and think, Mama water, can you nourish me right now? Can you teach me something right now? Is there something you can tell me about what everybody here listening needs to know about dreaming? And I feel where she's going in my body, right? Like, that's the difference. And that second way that I just did that is how much more ancient peoples used to do everything. And do you want to know why it was easier for them to do that? Because they weren't so fucking busy. Okay? And like, that's something that we don't want to hear all the time, right? That like the busyness of our modern lives keeps things from being magical, right? But it's a truth. And, anthropologists haven't, like they've often, passed down this idea that the lives of ancient peoples were really hard, right? Or that they were really sick or that they had really short lifespan. All of that is like completely bunk. At least from the research that I've done. Ancient peoples, even if you want to say their lives were harder or more uncomfortable, they had way more time. They had way more time to be present. They had way more time to appreciate what the world around them was telling them. And they actually had easier access to the parts of the brains that are stimulated by hallucinogens. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of time to talk about hallucinogens or entheogens for a second, because there's a certain way of viewing entheogens which makes rational the idea that all plants are in fact entheogens. I do in fact believe that all plants are entheogens. I also believe that your breath can be an entheogen. Believe that a lot of things can be entheogens, because what entheogens do is they take down sensory gating mechanisms in the brain. So what a hallucination is, right? You can say it's, again, just like dreams, random rapid firing of neurons, right? Or you can say it's clearer sight, because that is actually, for the most part, true. So in our day-to-day life, when we're really busy, when we're really stressed out, when we're really anxious, when we have to check our text messages, when we're, being overstimulated by something on our screens, when we're listening to sirens, when we're, balancing our checkbook, we're focused. We're focused because we believe, for some reason, on a conscious or an unconscious level, that there is something that is potentially life-threatening, that is potentially existence or ego shattering right in front of us. So we turn off everything else that is going on around us to focus on that one particular thing. Okay? And so what entheogens do essentially is they block the neurotransmitters that set up those gates to be able to focus on that one particular thing that you are perceiving as life-threatening, right? So in actuality, anything that can get you to just chill the fuck out is going to act in some way as a potential entheogen. It's just some things do this with a heavier hand, as it were, than others. So all plants, as they bring you into a deeper state of healing, as they open up your consciousness, as they allow you to settle more into your body in the present moment, are going to begin to take down your sensory gating mechanisms, are going to be able to offer you up a little taste of that liminal state that rides between the dream and the waking. Okay, so all plants are particularly well suited to helping you work with your dreams. Okay, so I'm going to check the ask a question box because I know that was a little bit heavy. When you say clear light dream, do you think you're referring to the same thing as the Tibetan Buddhist dream yoga? So, well, Tibetan Buddhist dream yoga is like hella complicated. And when I say clear light dream, I mean that general state of a dream that is very clear, right? Like a being walks in, hands you a talisman and says, put this on your altar in the morning. And you wake up and you remember what that talisman looked like and you're able to go and replicate it and put it on your altar. Or, my one of my favorite dreams was when a being walked out of a dark background. It was an old man, looked at me, was like, Crystal, got to stop eating GMO corn. Faded out of background, and I woke up. I was like, that's it. That's what I want from you, spirits. Just give it to me straight. Just tell me what you want me to do. Like that, for me, is a clear light dream. It's just really, really there. You remember it. You know what to do with it. It's not fuzzy. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, the answer is no, but that's a part of something that you develop in Tibetan dream yoga. But we're not going to get into all of Tibetan dream yoga. Could you explain the difference between entheogens and nootropics that I see frequently advertised, usually as part of supplemented to enhance and alter cognitive performance? So entheogens, basically the word entheogen just means something that brings you closer to God. Right. The nootropics are something that is, they're supplements that are affecting your neurotransmitters in some particular way. And they do all kinds of fancy things with nootropics now. And I'm not familiar with all of them, but the nootropics are, they're working with your neurotransmitters in a similar way to entheogens. Some entheogens are going to be nootropics. Some nootropics are going to border on being entheogenics. They're just different. Just different words there. What about stimulants and dissociatives as entheogens? Well, again, like what I just said. So entheogens are just, anything, like I said, that's going to bring you closer to God, that's going to, allow you access to those states of extrasensory perception. We're going to talk more about stimulants and dissociatives in a little bit here. Okay, so let me pull my slide back up and we're going to move on here. Okay, so essentially to have a plant ally, you need to treat plants as people, right? So just to put a footnote on that. And right, it's not easy. Like I said, even when I'm drinking my reishi tea in the morning, even though I know that reishi is this, super sacred mushroom that is, the only physical being that has the ability to restore yin, like the vital life force that I was allotted upon my moment of conception, even though I know that back in ancient China, only the emperors were allowed to eat it, I will still mindlessly slam it down. Why? Because it's hard. It's humbling, right? It requires emotional energy that I don't always have at my disposal because I have mad resistance to being in the present moment because it feels like a lot of responsibility to be in the presence of an ancient being, right? Of an ancient being like that. It is a practice in and of itself to cultivate that ability to treat plants as people. It's hard to feel worthy of having a teacher, right? It's hard to have the humility to speak like that, right? To speak to somebody as as a God. But when we can, believe that we're in the presence of a God, right? Life becomes a whole hell of a lot more fun. A lot more possibilities open up. So that's what we're trying to do with these plants. We're trying to recognize them as teachers, treat them as teachers, and then they're going to act like teachers. Okay. So we went into why they're important. We talked about how plants are, like naturally entheogens when we treat them as entheogens. Another reason, just to another little layer here as to why plants are so awesome to help us with dreaming in particular, is that plants, and those of you who are in Earth, you'll remember this. Plants on their own trip all the time in the natural environment, right? Because their roots are connected to, and this is the majority of plants, not all plants, but I want to say like 90% of plants are connected to the mycorrhizal network, right? And within the mycorrhizal network, there is psilocybin present, right? And what this psilocybin, what this mycorrhizal network does is it allows all plants, everything with roots in an environment, to respond to changes in the environment simultaneously. No communication needed. There's not time for like communication as we see it to happen. It is one being, right? So that's happening in the roots. Then in the aerial parts, right? So that's as the below, as the above, are consistently communicating through DMT. So this isn't like 100, this isn't, like not everybody agrees with this, but I believe that this is true. All plants and the human pineal gland contains DMT. So the aerial parts are continuously communicating through DMT. So we have this like deep ancestral connection happening down here that is connecting their bodies, right? Connecting their physical beings as one unit. And then you have this like DMT dream astral realm going on up here where all of this possibility is occurring. And they want to pull us into that. They want humans, like all mammals, all birds, everything around, to be a part of that network. And we are naturally in that network. We can simultaneously sync to changes in the environment with plants, again, if we allow ourselves to step into that, right? So we have to see ourselves as a part of the environment where plants are in order to sync with them. But they're here to teach us how to do that. So when we work with them, when we approach them as medicine, it's going to help us to find that plant nature within ourselves, that DMT that naturally runs within us, right? Okay. All right. So do we have any questions about that? Because again, I know that's pretty complicated. Yes, we will answer that question, Gina, a little bit later. And Dale, I am so happy you are so turned on right now, because it's super exciting. It's super sexy. And this is like one of the reasons that people go to ayahuasca ceremonies, right? It's what do they say happens in an ayahuasca ceremony? So ayahuasca is this, like really powerful teacher plant from the Amazon. The Amazon's bursting with life, lots of plants. Really hard not to feel like you're a part of the environment in the Amazon, right? Because it's just flooding with life everywhere, right? Is that death of the ego, that death of the ability to continue to conceive of yourself as something that is separate. But there's a reason that we feel separate, right? This is the whole alchemical process, right? The solvay and the coagulate. Like we are born as humans into the solvay. It is our fate to feel separate as humans. So we don't have to feel any like sense of shame of, not just like naturally being in that state of being, like automatically synchronized. That's not our fate. Our fate is to be here to create something different, right? We are the legs of the plants. Like we don't have roots. We can move. We can move medicines, right? And we can also come back in and commune with them. So it's like just even having that sense that it's possible to reconnect is, like I said, is enough. Like that's enough to still be doing your work. Okay. All right. So how do you work with a plant ally? So let's get started with the functional part of the functional part of our lesson here today. So first thing, as Westerners, we've got to sensitize ourselves. Right. And I know that this isn't something that gets talked about on the poison path a lot, but when I say we have to sensitize ourselves, do you all know what I mean? Do you all know what I mean by learning to become more sensitive? So there's a way in which I don't want this concept to come off as punishing, right? Because I know that it can have like this sense of shame, this sense of control that is really not healthy. And I'm about to start talking about plant dieting, which those of you who were in Earth, you know about. I can definitely come back to. I can definitely come back for a part 2. There is a lot of there is a lot of forerunner information that you need to know in order to get into these So there's being numb, yes, but there's also a sense in which all of our consumption and all of our reliance on distraction keeps us from being able to notice subtlety, intricacy, and complexity, right? So here's a nice analogy. So if there's a bullhorn going off, you're not going to be able to appreciate a Chopin prelude, right? So if you drink a lot of caffeine is a really heavy alkaloid, right? And your system is already super stimulated. If you are working with another stimulant, then say you want to work with, and I'm not going into stimulants at all in this presentation. I'm just talking because we work with so many stimulants and we're so overstimulated already that the subtleties of a lot of the plant stimulants that help with lucid dreaming are lost, like guayusa, right? So there's caffeine, there's alcohol, right? A barbiturate, right? So it's something that helps to relax, that stimulates GABA, right? If you work with these heavier spirits, the other spirits' voices get drowned out. And also, anything that becomes habitual, that just helps you get through your day-to-day life, becomes your day-to-day life, right? And so that's that way in which there's no gap for any creativity to enter, for any new possibility to occur. So in order to get really deep with a plant ally, especially in the dreaming realms, you have to get rid of some habitual uses, some habitual desensitizers. Now, this can even include things that have a really strong taste. So one of my least favorite facts about the reality that I presently live in is that sugar is damaging to our nervous systems. Nobody wants to hear it. We love sweet things. The sweet taste, what it does for us as humans is it gives us a sense of intimacy. Oftentimes when we crave sugar, what we actually crave is intimacy. It's a reward. So if we eat a lot of things that taste really sweet, then our nervous system is full. Again, I know you know from a lot of the language that Carolyn uses, you know what full means. It means you can't bring anything else in. So we have to empty out. And now this is true for really spicy foods as well. And this is unfortunately also true of fats, because fats are also very sweet. So when we diet a plant, we need to take something else away in order for that plant to have room to come in. So in Earth, we did a really light version of a diet where we just didn't add anything else in while we were using one plant. But if you want to go deep into the dreaming, if you want your dreams to be vivid and you want to have more control and awareness in your dreams, you need to open up some space. So you need to sensitize yourself. Now, okay, so this is true of diet, right? So again, just going over some of the things you want to consider taking away or making some space with is anything that's habitual, anything that you do out of habit. Now, this could just be one thing, right? Like you're just taking away coffee, you're just taking away alcohol, you're just taking away nicotine, or some nicotine, but you have to open up some space, right? Or you just take away spicy food. If you take away all of them, all the better. And that's the way a traditional diet would be done in the Amazon, is you take away all of those things. And then you have more room for what they call la pinta to come in, the paints, right? And what the paints do. It's not just pretty colors, it's creation, right? Okay. Any caffeine, unfortunately, is going to, some is fine. You just need to decrease it. Like I said, you just need to create space. But this is also true of noise, of television, of too many stories, even even reading, like a lot of reading, like a lot of intake of symbols. Like you need to find some stillness to really hear. Oh, great, somebody has been on an Aya retreat. Strong favors compete with. Okay, I'm going to check and see if there's any new questions. And so I was told I could go a little bit over, so I was planning on going over. I'm assuming that you're probably, and again, so the question about is a coffee in the morning overstimulating? That completely depends for you. Like for me, I can't have coffee at all. Like that's overstimulating for my nervous system. I'm really sensitive. I'm pretty pitta. Somebody who's super kapha, that's not going to be overstimulating at all. In fact, it might be necessary. There's some kaphic people who like have really heavy earth energy that it's like actually they're going to be able to feel plants more if they have that cup of coffee in the morning because they need their nerves to wake up like that. So all of this is completely according to your needs. And that's why part of a plant diet is just, or part of dieting, part of sensitizing is learning your own nervous system. Like this is probably, like over the Delphic Oracle, what was written, know thyself. It's a huge part of this process. Okay, so you have to know how your nervous system works. Okay, so there are some people who could be sitting and watching a television show, still aware of 20 other things that are going on around them. Okay, there are some people who sit and watch a television show and, somebody could be drowning in the corner and they would have no idea. How does your nervous system work? How do you need to create space for yourself in order to notice subtleties, notice complexities, notice intricacies? How does your focus work? So everybody learns how to focus, and even what focus is for you in a different way. And, there's all kinds of stories about, the masculine nervous system works like this. It can only work on one thing. The feminine nervous system works like this. It can focus on many things like that. That's a gross generalization, right? But what is true in that is that everybody does operate differently in terms of focus and how information is processed in your individual nervous system. And that's, for any number of reasons. It can be genetic, it can be environmental, it could be, a product of, childhood conditioning. Is green tea all day overstimulating? I would just have to go ahead and say yes. Just because if you're drinking anything all day, it is like mad habitual. And you probably want to create some space there. Because here's another thing. Plants, strong. Plants, teachers. They want to help us. They absolutely do. They are also possessive. The stronger a plant is, the stronger a plant's spirit is, right? So anything that has like heavy alkaloids like that, like caffeine, like nicotine, any of your entheogens are mostly alkaloids. They are strong and they have a will of their own. They want to work with you for a reason, right? They want to help you, but they also want you to help them. Right? Like they are a consciousness, the gods are jealous, right? Plants can be jealous and they'll take ownership of your will, of your spirit. Like these are, not things to be scared of, but just things to be aware of. Just like people, just like any spirits that you meet in the dream time. It's like there's light and shadow everywhere you go. If you take up space, you cast a shadow. If you cast light, you cast a shadow. You can't have one without the other. So you just have to be careful and, think, how long have I been drinking green tea all day? What have I gotten out of this? Do I want to try something different now? Do I want to create a different pattern? I would say if you're here and you want a healthier dream life, I'd cut that green tea out for a little while and try something else and see what it's like to get another plant spirit on your side. Switch over to a different alkaloid, or try taking all the alkaloids out for a while before you bring more back in. Okay. Was there another question there? Do healthy Western diets have any spiritual benefit to them? I don't know what a healthy Western diet is. There's a lot of them. I mean, like Whole30 is great. I know that. The paleo diet is probably great, but just because it's healthy, it doesn't mean it's going to have the kind of spiritual benefit that you want it to have. Like, for example, garlic is, considered a really powerful, high vibrational plant, right? But garlic is super stimulating. So in Ayurveda, those of you who are familiar with Ayurveda know that you don't eat garlic in an Ayurvedic diet. Why? Because it's desensitizing, right? Super healthy, super detoxifying. But once you get detoxified, right? Like once you're in a place where you're pure, you don't want to work with those stronger plants like that. You don't want to be bringing in these really strong other energies because you want to know yourself. Who am I without all of these other things? Right? It's that space of emptiness that you have to cultivate in the material realm to really learn who you are as a spiritual being. And that's what fasting does, right? Like when, you fast from outside stimulation so you can go inward, right? Like, so the word in, a lot of Buddhist traditions, the word for an initiate into the Buddhist tradition, right, is a person of the inner life, right? Like as somebody who's turning off what's on the outside to see what's on the inside, right? Rather than, being really taken in by what's on the inside. And I know, this is the poison path, or the left-hand path is different, right? You're diving into outer world stuff. But if this is something that you're interested in, this empty state is really great to cultivate when working with, as I was saying, a particular plant medicine in the dream realm. So just so you know, this, the title of this, the title of this talk was Herbal Rituals, right? This is the first ritual. And I know there's a lot of requirements for this particular ritual, but this is the first ritual that I'm introducing you to, which is this concept of plant dieting, which again, just to like go back, because I don't have, like a clean slide kind of showing where we are in the talk here. This plant dieting, the first step is cultivating this empty space so that you can hear the messages of this plant ally more clearly. We've also, cultivated our intention. What do we want to do with this plant ally in the spirit realm? And we've, greeted and are regularly working with this plant ally in a space where we are acknowledging it as a consciousness, right? So we're acknowledging it. We're creating empty space. We're acknowledging its consciousness, and we're giving it its intention, right? Which are the steps for, most rituals. Okay. So, and getting to know your nervous system is a really important part of that process. So, plants as our teachers are not only capable of teaching us how to dream better, right? And so when I say dream better, I don't mean for that to have a value judgment, but by dream better, I mean to be able to have clearer dreams, so more visuals, to be able to make better understanding, know what's happening in the dream better, or a deeper sensory experience in the dream, feeling more grounded, feeling more centered in the dream, feeling more aware in the dream, even if we're not yet aware that we're dreaming. So if we're not yet fully lucid, we can at least develop more autonomy as an individual consciousness and have better dream recall. So there are herbs to help us do all of these things, but plants don't only do those things. So plants can also teach us. Plant consciousness can actually come directly into our dreams and teach us how to live lives in a better way. So plants kind of have this twofold action of both getting us to this space of being able to dream and see and, handle ourselves in that space better. And then they guide us in that while we're in that space. So that's why it's really particularly awesome to have these, to cultivate this ally relationship, because the possibilities are limitless once we start this journey. It's like, how deep do you want to go? They can take us really far. Okay, and so clearly, different plants do different things. So, and I'm about to pop up a list here. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Other note. So I know Carolyn is a big fan of astrology. I am as well. I'm a Hellenistic astrologer, which is like more of a classical astrologer. And plants and stars were read in tandem back in the Hellenistic period for the Egyptians, for the Babylonians, for the Greeks. To be a doctor or to work with plant medicines was also to read the stars. So astral energies work within the plants in a really interesting way. So it's also nice if you're getting into this dream space where you're aware of astral energies, if you take the time before entering that space to just like notice how does this plant work with my chart in particular, and how does this plant work with the current astrological weather. So even if before you go to bed at night, say you just take note of where the moon is, like, so where the moon is in the sky, is it in Leo, Where is Leo in my chart? What else is transiting Leo? How does that, does that sextile my moon? Does that oppose my moon? Just getting a sense of that weather is like orientation. So it tells you where you are. And as you know, if you don't know where you are, you can't find yourself on a map. So one of the things the plants are going to do is they're going to be guides for you along throughout the astral realms, right? And astrology gives us the opportunity to find where we are and find where all of the other major players are. Like, where's the big action going to be happening? Is it going to be in your 11th house? Is it going to be on your second house? And if you know that going in, everything else makes so much more sense. So, and if that's something you want to talk about, we can talk about that. We can talk about that at a later time. Okay. All right. So, preparatory dream herbs. And if you would like, after this talk, I can send you, I wish I was able to pop this up on the stream. But for now, I'll just kind of like read this down to you. But I can send you a PDF as well. If you want to go to Earth Star Magic and sign up on my email list, I'll, be able to see who signed up recently, and I can send it to Elena, however we want to work that out. But so we're going to start with herbs for preparing you to enter the dream realm. We already talked about mugwort. Mugwort, fabulous for helping you to gain lucidity, bridges the gap between the conscious and the unconscious. A lesser known amazing herb for lucid dreaming is oat straw. Sounds really simple. So it can be oat straw or it can be milky oats. I would do both because they kind of work on the nervous system in a different way. But so we talked a lot about sensitizing yourself. One amazing thing that oat straw does is it actually strengthens your nervous system. We don't have a lot of straight nervous system tonics in our pharmacopoeia. We have a lot of nervines, we have a lot of nervine stimulants, we have a lot of nervine relaxants. Nervine tonics, not as common. So what it means for an herb to strengthen your immune system is it means that nerve is able to hold more sensation. To be able to hold more sensation, as most of you know, is to generally expand your being, right? To be able to take in more energies. So you don't have to do as much work sensitizing yourself, right? Because you can just hold more sensation while being in a relaxed state, right? So not hyper-focused, not hyper-vigilant, so that sensory sensory gating mechanisms can come down. Need some mama water. Okay, next, great preparatory herb, ginkgo biloba. What ginkgo biloba does is it helps bring clarity to your dreams. So for those of you who feel like maybe your dreams are still a bit jumbled, maybe they're chaotic, maybe you don't understand them, what ginkgo is going to do is help you to see what's happening in the moment, be able to place more important. Your conscious mind will be able to be like, oh, I know this symbol. This means something to me. And when that happens, you're going to be able to remember your dreams more clearly in the morning, being able to bridge that conscious and unconscious gap. Does that make sense? So ginkgo biloba going to help you gain grounding and clarity in your dreams so that they will then have importance and an effect on your material life, right? So you're going to be able to remember your dreams better, meaning that eventually you're going to be able to get lucid. Okay? Next, another important step in being able to place importance on your dreams is your unconscious not being afraid to bring the unconscious into the conscious, right? So a lot of you might have nightmares, or maybe you're just afraid of the dark. Maybe you're afraid of losing control, right? So we need a sense of protection. So it's important to work with herbs that are going to bring that sense of protection in. Clove is a fabulous one, right? I saw this really funny meme. online the other day about pumpkin spice. It was like, don't make fun of pumpkin spice lattes, bitches, because all these herbs are super magical. And it's true. Clove and cinnamon are actually really amazing protective herbs. They both carry the quality of Mars, especially if you have a dignified Mars in your chart, or alternatively, if you have a difficult Mars in your chart, working with clove and cinnamon could be really great for you. So it helps to protect you from negative energies in your dreams, decrease nightmares, and then you'll have an easier time doing that work of bridging the conscious and the unconscious. Another great one that serves that purpose is clary sage. Clary sage is also particularly interesting because it helps you to have more dreams in the deep dream state. I'm actually very interested in going a little bit deeper with clary sage in my own dream practice because I would like to do more distinguishing of my dreams that happen in deep sleep versus dreams that happen in rapid eye movement. Let me move on here because I know I'd like to be done in about 15 minutes. Okay, and next, burdock. Burdock root is one of my favorite medicinal plants just in general. It is big, powerful bear medicine. It's this super oily, super nourishing root that is amazing for building prebiotics in your gut. It contains inulin, prebiotics that become probiotics, does amazing things for digestion, does amazing things for your hair, for your skin, for your nervous system. It rebuilds the myelin sheath on your nervous system. So burdock is, in a roundabout way, a really amazing plant for dreams. It also has the additional benefit of attracting more positive dreams. So it decreases nightmares. Remember, as does clove, as does clary sage, and it actually brings more happy dreams your way. So going to go down this list of preparatory dream herbs one more time for you. There's mugwort. We already talked a good bit about that. Oat straw for helping your nervous system to be able to hold more sensation and therefore enhance lucid dreaming. Oh, that's also the high vitamin B content that clinical researchers have actually connected to its ability to increase lucid dreaming. Ginkgo biloba for bringing more clarity to details in your dreams and therefore having enhanced dream recall, being able to place more importance on your dreams. Clove, cinnamon as well, for protecting you from negative energies in your dreams and decreasing nightmares. Clary sage for the same, for protective herb. Clary sage carries additional benefit of being able to have more dreams during deep sleep. Burdock for being amazing for your nervous system and also attracting positive dreams. Okay. All right. And this is the kind of big culmination of our class here, talking about the master dream herbs. A lot of you are probably already familiar with some of these. I bet a lot of you have already heard of blue lily. Who here has heard of blue lotus? Oh, well, I'm really glad to hear some of you haven't had any. Milky oat spagyric. Love that. Yeah, that's something I would love to talk more about is plant alchemy. It's really, really amazing. Okay, so blue lotus, let me go to the question, is a super ancient and really, really important dream herb, or just like herb ally in the Western tradition. Very sacred to Hermes, used a lot by the Egyptians. It's referenced in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. There's lots of images of pharaohs offering the blue lily. It's not actually a lotus, it's a lily, nymphaea, but called blue lotus, but offering the lily to the gods. Tutankhamun was covered in his sarcophagus was covered in blue lotus flowers. Apparently, 3,000-year-old lotus flowers all over his body. So it was a vitally important sacraments. So we can think of it like that. Blue lotus was a sacramental herb, very, very much an herb of the gods, very much considered to be a plant that opened up astral portals to be able to channel divinity. So, ways to work with Blue Lotus and what Blue Lotus does for, us today is it acts as a sleep aid. So it actually, if you have trouble falling asleep, it can help you fall asleep and get into dream states more quickly. So it can make that liminal space as you're falling asleep a little bit smoother. What also helps it to do that is that it is a natural anxiety reliever. It can just turn down a lot of the stress in your life, turn down the volume of thoughts before you go to sleep to help you find that state of presence. A lot of you probably already know it's also an aphrodisiac. So it can help you get, so when I say aphrodisiac, yes, it'll help you get horny faster, but it's also just helping you to feel more pleasure in your body. So when you think of an aphrodisiac, you want to think of just increasing pleasure. So like not just, being in the mood, but just being in the mood for life, like generally just enjoying life a lot more, like pleasure channels turned up, or nerval stimuli are less likely to come off as confusing or to come off as painful. You probably know the same neural receptors that channel pain are the ones that channel pleasure. So it's like a lot of this is situational. And Blue Lotus helps us to interpret situations as being pleasurable. And when that happens, it's going to be easier for us to go into the dream realm open and ready to receive messages and eager to interpret beings as helpful, and feeling more worthy and open to the idea that healing can happen in that space, and being in more of an empowered place to be able to take up control, to be able to take up consciousness. What makes a plant a master dream plant as opposed to an ordinary dream plant? So when we say like a master teacher plant, or just like I'm saying, like a master dream plant, I really I could also say master teacher plant, is that it's one of those heavy-handed herbs that act as entheogens. And Michael, I thought you had mentioned before that you'd been to the Amazon. You're in the Amazon, the Shipibo at least often refer to a lot of the plants that you diet. They'll categorize them as being, teacher plants or master teacher plants. The master teacher plants being the ones that are more likely to stimulate DMT, that take down sensory gating mechanisms with a heavy hand. Does that make sense, Michael? Okay, so I am going to, with these last ones, so somebody asked how to take burdock. I prefer taking burdock fresh. It's great in a tincture as well. I would also want it to be tinctured fresh, and that's specifically in order to get at those really great oils. You can buy, there's another wealth call. Okay. I am going to go ahead and try to wrap up here, but I like burdock fresh in a decoction. All of these everything that I'm mentioning here will work great as a tincture. And a tincture is really, really readily available and very easy to take, very easy to remember, really easy to place on your altar. I'm going to continue with a couple of other herbs here. Again, all of these are fine as a tincture, though I am going to tell you some of the more traditional ways to prepare them. So devil's claw is another really fabulous plant from Africa that is going to help you to get into deeper levels of sleep and is going to invoke more profound lucid dream states within those deeper layers of sleep. So instead of taking you from REM to a lucid dream, Devil's Claw has the ability to take you from deep sleep into a lucid dream. So there is, getting into a bit of a complicated space, but there, as I mentioned, there's different timbres of dreams that happen in deep sleep versus REM sleep. Devil's Claw is going to create those from deeper levels of unconsciousness. So essentially, there's going to be more ability to travel further with Devil's Claw. Really beautiful plant. Okay, African Dream Root. So African Dream Root is a herb that is very, very, very highly regarded in Zimbabwe and South Africa. And there would have been very long, like week-long ceremonies where this beautiful frothy mixture was made, and you were actually painted. They painted their bodies. They paint, still do present day, paint their bodies with the herb, and then eat the foam from a mixture, and produces amazing dreams. And also divinatory dreams. So this plant in these ceremonies were used specifically for prophecy and for divination. Again, essentially learning how to be better humans, learning how to live our lives in a better way. African Dream Root is very often, this is Selene capensis, and is very often today, modern day, taken regularly in capsules. So when you look up African Dream Root, you're probably going to find a powder, a capsule. African Dream Root, when you take it, it's one that you actually want to build up in your body. So you're going to take it regularly, probably like 3 times a day for about a week to feel the effects. Next, one of my personal favorites, I actually just got a new shipment of this in today, so I definitely want to talk about this, a wild asparagus root. So wild asparagus root, for those of you who are in earth, this is different from the asparagus root that is used for women's needs. This is asparagus, and I'm hoping I can say this right. I wish I could pop it up on the screen. Oh, here. You know what? I'm going to place this in the chat. This is known as the flying herb. See if that, and this is used in TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine, is used by monks as what's Tianmendong, which translates as heavenly spirit root. So this, like I said, is used by monks not only for dreams, but also for meditation. So this is a plant that when you ingest it, you can actually eventually get to a state where while you're in meditation, you have that same deep, visceral, felt experience that you do in dreams of being somewhere else, right? So it's that beautiful astral travel. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here when about half an hour over. Thank you everybody for staying with me. I guess just really quickly, I'm going to just go down a list of some of the others. So like I said, the main ritual here was dream rituals, or dream rituals was the plant ally relationship, right? The dieting with a plant. There are rituals within that ritual of dieting a plant, which is essentially just taking that herb in the way that it's best prepared once or twice a day while limiting your diet in order to increase sensitivity and working with it, acknowledging its consciousness, right? There's all kinds of mini rituals within that ritual that is going to heighten that. And that should be a malleable lived experience for you. But some of those things are going to be altar work. You're already familiar with altar work from Wealth. You would simply place that herb on your altar, or create a new altar for that herb. Creating a dream bag, right? So placing some of that herb along with an intention, a message to that plant, maybe a stone to heighten the power of that plant, in a little bag under your pillow. Herbal baths, bathing with that plant. There's sequences of baths that you can do, cleansing baths, protective baths, magnetizing baths, baths for particular healing work that you're going to do, but essentially, you're just bathing with some plants and allowing the waters of those plants to merge with your own waters. And you can also get rituals and do certain meditations in these herbal baths. I'm going to talk more about that another time if I come on again. You can make herbal talismans. I know Carolyn talks a lot about talisman work. This is Jupiter talisman. Talismans are awesome. Plant songs. Plants communicate in song. Most of the world communicates in song. One of my teachers just really started pushing us to deepen our song work. It's one of the most profound healing things that we can do is find our own song. We're the only creatures in the world that holds on to that keeps its song from the rest of creation. And that really is our power of creation, is vibration. So plants, somebody said they wake up in the morning and they hear songs. Plants often give songs in dreams or in dream states, in liminal states, or you can write your own song for a plant. Journey work, I talked a little bit about that. It's a hack for lucid dreaming that you do in the world, lay down, oftentimes with a drum, with a rhythm, sometimes with the aid of a plant, sometimes on your own, and giving gratitude, completing the cycle, making offerings. And I know you all have really great offering practices that you do with Carolyn already. It's just another venue for giving gratitude, which also involves giving some of the plant matter back to the earth along with a gift. Okay, great. So I think I'll go ahead and just take a few questions. Any tips for herbs to quit coffee? Oftentimes, people will use dried chicory, burdock roots, and dandelion root as a coffee replacement. For clients, I often recommend blending roasted chicory, burdock, and dandelion with your coffee in the morning. So start off, just make it like an 1/8 chicory, and then make it a 1/4 chicory, and then make it half chicory, until eventually it comes out of your system. You probably also want to do a cleanse and start drinking some nettles is often what I recommend. How best to take in the herbs. As I said, a lot of these teas are great. Tinctures, a lot of people end up using more often, just because they're simpler. Sorry, my throat got really dry. I see here. Anybody? Okay. All right. Well, anybody who goes over to Earth Star Magic and signs up, like I said, I will send you the PowerPoint along with some more specifics about how to do some of these rituals we talked about at the end. And it would be great if you all did some communal singing after this. Highly recommend it. And I hope to see you all. Oh yeah, earthstarmagic.com. Oops, just did something wrong. And if anybody likes, we can also, I do work with people one-on-one. I love working with Carolyn's people, because you are all very well trained and already on board for a lot of ritual. I'm available for one-on-one sessions and developing your own unique dream journeys. So I'm going to let you all go. Love you all, and I hope to see you again soon. Farewell.